So hello and welcome back to another video. Yes, I am very excited, very keen and very eager to get going. Welcome back to Holme Fen. This is a trip which I've been looking forward to for quite some time, to be honest. This is planned way back to last year, even before I knew I was coming back this year. And after that last session, you know, I've got high expectations to live up to. But to be honest, I really don't care what happens. We found out a few things that are quite concerning. One in particular is the group that have just left. They only had 6 fish between them for the whole group. It's fishing very, very hard. And then the group before them, they only had 11 fish for the week. And we also found out that that was a bait company that was here as a social, and there was doubled up in every swim. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of rods and a lot of bait going out there. A couple of guys told me from the walk round that there was birds coming back up with bait in the beaks which they hadn't put out, so that's quite concerning. So I think one of the key things is going to be fishing to a bite and locating them areas. Now we've just done the draw and I've got round to the swim. The draw didn't go in my favour, not this time. I come out last in the draw and I picked out the pump hole. However, my mate Liam Gingle, he pulled out first in the draw and he picked the beaches. Now we had a little bit of a thing going on that if we picked a double peg, that we was going to double in together. So that's basically what's happened. But the way it's worked out quite good, to be honest, because with me pulling out the pump hole and him pulling out the beaches, we're going to fish this as a double together, but it leaves all that bank empty to the left of us. And where I'm situated here, I can actually fish the entrance to the pump hole on one of the rods, and I can also go and bait a little spot in the corner. It gives us a few options, you know, we can rove about between us, but the main priority is getting some spots located out in that zone out there. Liam has gone on the right hand side, which, you know, is the side that you want to be on. There's a few known areas out there. There's a kelp bed in particular, and the dot islands and that, and I've gone on the left. I let Liam have first choice because obviously he's pulled the peg out anyway, and I'm sort of jumping on what he's picked. So, but you know, if I'd have come out first and picked this peg, this is what would have been happening anyway. So it's not like we're doing anything wrong, it's just we decided to fish together before we even come here. So we're going to work the swim between us, get the spots rocking. I shall keep you updated and let you know everything what I'm doing. Pretty much similar tactics to last time. It's going to be washed out boilies, plenty of particle, and in particular plenty of maize and corn in the mix. It's the yellow that really stood out last time I was here. Yellow hook baits on everything. I've got the instant attract pineapple crush, and I've got piles and piles of Scopex with me. That's going to be the main feed source. So yes, without further ado, let's get this video on the road, or should I say, let's get this video rocking. Well, good evening, and I am pleased to report that the rods are out there and we are fishing. Feeling rather confident, to be honest. I've seen quite a few fish in the vicinity, and I've had the drone up in the air and also clocked fish in the vicinity, in particular over where Liam's fishing. There's a big kelp bed out there, and we've seen quite a few fish drifting in and out towards that. And then out to my left there's a weed bed that's it's only about 40 yards out. I've seen quite a few fish showing around that area as well. But we've had a few technical issues. It's been a long day, let me tell you. When I say technical issues, Liam's got an RT4, and we've been having connection issues with the fish finder. And myself, I'm getting to grips with a new bait boat. I've got the V80 from Future Carping. And to be honest, you know, it's the first time I've used it, so I've had to teach myself how to use it and everything. And in the end, we were sort of losing the light a bit. We was getting a bit conscious about finding spots and things like that. So we sort of worked together between us. One's like, you know, held the rod, one's controlling the boat, that sort of thing. So we've helped each other out to get them out there. But we're feeling pretty confident. The spots that we found are like dinner plates, you know. We clocked a couple of spots when I flew the drone over, getting a bit of footage to try and find some fish. So we sort of started looking in that area. We've leaded out basically. What we've had to do, because we're having trouble with the fish finder, we've had to lead out there to find the spots and then clip it up and then just send the boat out there and drop it, using the trees on the horizon as a marker to make sure we are dropping them on them spots, because they're quite small, and it's a very, very deceiving when you're trying to do that with a boat. But I think we've managed it all right. Yeah, pretty confident we're on spots. It's took us a long time, and I'm sorry I haven't got much footage of that, but I do think it's going to be like that, to be fair. When we're not casting and spomming and that, there's not going to be as much cinematic footage. But I'll touch on what I've actually done. So I mentioned at the beginning, gone out there with particle. It's sort of like 50-50 between the particle and the boilie, but in particular there's a lot of larger items in there, and as I mentioned, lots of yellow baits in there. I've got maize in there, I've got sweet corn in there, I've got yellow peas. I mean, there's all sorts of bits and pieces in there, but it's a very good mix to put out there, because the coots are all over us as well. They're constantly diving, so I'd imagine a lot of that is going to be picked off. So yes, that's where we're up to. Now the left-hand rod, that was quite simple. I know that spot in that corner. The only thing I did do is walk down a couple of swims down and made a few casts from that peg there, just to check that the spot was still clear and how big it is. And then I ain't even had to clip it up or anything. I've just basically stood in the water, sent the boat straight out to that corner, dropped it in there. That one's fishing. It's a nice silty clear area, that, and I'm feeling quite confident, just as long as the bird life leaves us alone on that rod. But if anything, you know, there's fish out in the vicinity. We've just got the rods out. We're feeling pretty confident. Even though the catch report last week was pretty shocking, I'm sure something's going to happen. Liam's a very, very capable angler, and you know, I always tend to get lucky and winkle the odd one out myself. So as you can imagine, first night on, first night buzz, we're well up for it. So yeah, I'm going to sign off because I don't want to I want to relax now. I want to get some tea on, get a cup of tea, sit back, watch this sunset, and I'll keep you updated. Wish me luck. Well, good morning. First morning update. Just looking out over the trees in the distance there, you can see the sun rising. And I tell you what, it's been a frustrating first night. There's been a lot of activity to report, especially out towards the left of me. There's some weed that hits the surface over there. It's probably only 40 yards out where it actually starts. The coots are harvesting that area at the moment. But going into darkness last night, the amount of shows we've seen over that weed bed is just unbelievable, and some big fish amongst them as well. And through the night, it's like one even woke me up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Sound like somebody dropped a cow in. But very frustrating, because it feels like we're on fish and we should have had a bite. And certainly the two areas where we've seen the most activity is out towards the Dot Island over here. There's a kelp bed sort of in this zone here. We've seen fish pass through that vicinity. Now Liam's got that boxed off on both rods. He's got one on either side. There's a few spots around that kelp bed. I mean, the kelp bed's not as predominant as it usually is. I spoke to a couple of members that have fished here quite a lot, that have had winter tickets and that, and some years that kelp bed's quite thick and solid, but certainly from the drone footage that I got, it looked like it was very sporadic, and that's where the fish was passing through. We have picked up the odd liner, in particular on my middle rod. I'll just spin the camera around a bit. So yeah, my middle rod, I mean that's my closest rod, and I've had quite a few single bleeps on that, and it's definitely liners, definitely fish knocking into it. It kind of feels a bit ziggy at the moment. It definitely seems like they're harvesting the naturals in that weed over there. And collectively, as a group, nobody's had a fish yet. And there's some good anglers on, you know. We all know what we're doing. But yeah, where them coots are, I don't know if you can pick them up. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Can just about pick them coots up there in the distance. That's where all the weed's hitting the surface. Now Andy, who's in the lookout, he's actually fishing the other side of that weed, and we've seen fish showing in that area. And the fact that he hadn't picked a bite up, you know, it's quite concerning, the fact that they're so active and we're not picking up bites. I'm very, very reluctant to put a zig out there. One, because I hate fishing them, and the other one is it's very savage out in front of us. The bars that run across the lake run parallel towards us. And they're so savage. I mean, like, you get cut off on braid, in particular, you know, if you're out there markering up and that, sometimes you can get cut off just markering up. It is quite bad. I mean, you don't really expect a hooker fish from them to go charging over the bars, like, but with a blooming long zig on there, it's one of them. I'm very, very sceptical about doing it. But yes, that is the synopsis. Very frustrating first night. It feels like something should have happened. Moving forward for today, certainly them two right hand rods, I'm not going to do anything, just going to sit on them. At some point they're going to switch on to the bait. But that left hand rod, I'm just not feeling it, and I just cannot ignore that activity that I'm seeing over there. I mean, in this zone, you know, you expect them to be long, you know, usually it's a casting water, this, it depends what group you come on with. And this week we've all agreed to use bait boats, so there's a lot of spots being fished at the moment that don't get fished on a regular basis by the lads that are all casting. You know, because most people's range is sort of 80 to 100 yards, and a lot of the spots in the main zone, especially out to the right of us here, one of the main spots, it's like 120 yards, and out in Party Point, you know, 33 wraps to put you on the furthest bar over there. So, you know, there's a lot of water that's getting covered this week that don't usually get covered. So yes, I will keep you updated, but that's the morning update. Wish us luck. Well, good evening, and boy, today, well, I don't even know where to begin, to be quite honest. One of Liam's rods has absolutely kicked off today, and it's not all been good news, I'm afraid. The first fish picked up his other line, and then it got cut off.
Just going to do that other rod, pal. Oh, you it's going left. It's got it already.
Second fish picked up his other line, and then the hook pulled. And then the third bite, he ended up taking one of his rods out just to prevent it from going into the other line. All the bites was coming off the same spot, so he ended up taking one rod out. Next bite, you know, played it all the way in, and it was about a rod length out, and then the hook just popped out. And by this point, we was just like, oh, stressed, you know what I mean? I could see it in Liam's face, you know, how gutted he was, and it was hard for me to witness as well. And not only that, I was also getting frustrated, thinking, why is nothing happening for me? But we're coming into the afternoon now, and I'm pleased to say things have started to change. It's took a turn for the better. Liam has now landed 2 fish. Just take a look at this one now. This, what you're looking at, is a lovely 30 common, put up a really good count of itself as well. So as you can imagine, Liam was chuffed to bits with that one. That one sort of put all the bad luck to bed. And then not long after that, in fact, he dropped the rig back out there with the boat. We hadn't even got the boat back to the shore, and it was away again. And that one turned out to be a 43 mirror. Just take a look at this one.
Made a few changes, changed my rigs a little bit. Managed to get 2 today. This one's biggest 43. Happy days. And thanks for Paul for helping. It's in.
So yes, and that's about it for the action so far. The wind's died off now, the temperature's starting to drop. In fact, we've just had some tea, to be quite honest. It's been quite draining today, because it feels like we've been doing a hell of a lot for not much reward. But we've sort of been doing it between us, you know, making it easier for one another. But now I'm just praying to God that something happens for me overnight. I feel like with me fishing the deeper water, that's my best opportunity. And that hot rod that Liam's fishing over there, it's in about 8 and 9 foot of water, and it's actually, as it comes off a bar, as it starts to slope down, and it's fishing just at the side of a kelp bed. Now he's got another rod out as well, which is also fishing to the left of the kelp bed, but it's in deeper water, that. And it's just weird that nothing's happened on that rod, but it's all coming up to the right hand side of it. Especially with the amount of fish we're seeing passing over the zone as well. You think fishing both rods the same, one on one side of the kelp bed, one on the other. The only difference being is the depth of water. Now, news around the lake, you know, for the whole group, nobody else has not even had a sniff. And there's been fish seen in quite a lot of places. Danny, who's in the back of the islands here, I think he's in Old Island or something like that it's called. It's the centre one round the back of the island. He said he counted 35 shows in front of him last night. And then again out in front of me to the left here, this kelp bed, which I now know is a kelp bed. Yesterday I was looking at it thinking it was just weed to the surface. But there's been a few chaps move around. There's a guy moved around from Harry's into 4 strong winds, and the other chap that was in Sunset has moved into the pump hole. So I've obviously moved that rod that I had down in the pump hole. And I've actually found a really nice spot, and it's only 16 1/4 wraps out, and just in front of it there's a nice bit of kelp, and then just behind it is where the weed comes up to the surface. And I'm just hoping that it's a repeat of yesterday, because I feel really confident in that spot. Everything's presented over there, and I've spawned out as well. I'm not using the boat on that rod. I feel really confident, you know, feeling like lead down and that. And I know what I'm doing works. I just need the fish to move in over it. At the minute, I feel like the fish are just sitting up in the water in them zones, but I daren't put a zig on. I really daren't. I don't want to hook one and lose one. I mean, after seeing what's happened to Liam today, I will mention that he's been using, you know, hinge stiff rig, but his own version of it. He uses a doubled over, and the one thing that he's done to combat that is actually lengthen the rig. He was fishing a fairly short rig and he's lengthened it, and since he's lengthened it, the last 2 bites he's landed. So hopefully, fingers crossed, going into this evening, I'll start to see a few more fish show out in that weed bed, confidence will pick up, and then it'll be a repeat of what's happened today for Liam on that left hand rod. I think it's just going to absolutely kick off again tomorrow. That it seems like through the night they drift off of that zone and then they move out into the open water, but it's whether or not we've got enough down there to get a bite. Fingers crossed, wish us luck. Well, good morning, and quite late morning as well, I might add. We're actually approaching dinner time as we speak. And I've been putting this update off, if I'm being totally honest. Not a lot has happened. Last night could have been any different to the night before. The night before, the lake was alive, there were shows all over the place. And yet last night, total different contrast, hardly anything showed at all. And again this morning, it's a repeat of that. It's like that something's just changed. It's like somebody's flicked a switch and the fish have all disappeared. However, now we're approaching dinner time, things are starting to take a bit of a turn. This is why I'm switching the camera on now. You may notice that it's a bit overcast at the moment. We've got a good wind coming across the lake. And the guy that moved from Harry's over into 4 strong winds has landed a fish this morning. It didn't look a very big fish. I'm not sure how big it was, but very pleased to see somebody else in the group catch a fish. Liam's rod hasn't kicked off yet. I mean, we're kind of thinking of just redoing that rod to see if we can sort of spur some action on. But the fish that I have seen this morning, they've been showing well beyond where Liam's fishing at the moment. At the moment, the fish that we've seen are in short in front of Party Point and the dugout. So, you know, it's one of them, you know, you just not got to lose your head on here. It's one of them waters, we knew it was going to be tricky. And it always is like this on here. You've just got to sit on what you're doing and be confident in what you're doing. And eventually, you know, something will happen, it will. And that's kind of how I feel at the moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was a little bit deflated that the fish didn't show again like last night like they did the night before. I was quite hopeful of that blooming weed rod doing a bite, let's put it that way. But I'm still really confident in that spot. It goes down lovely, and where it's situated, it's just over the kelp, and there's a big raft of weed behind it, and you know, that's where the fish was. And even though I didn't see many fish yesterday, when I did see the fish, there was right in the middle of that weed. I mean, if anything, the only thing I could really hope for is it was a bit shallower. It's about 15 foot deep, that spot. It does seem to be that they're very reluctant to feed in the deep areas at the moment, but I am very skeptical about how much bait has gone out there on the previous, you know, groups that's been in. I think that's kind of the reason why it's made the fishing a little bit tricky. And not only that, we've got high pressure at the moment, and we're set to have high pressure for the duration that we're here. In fact, if anything, when we leave on Sunday, the Monday morning, it's due to have a massive change. It's going to drop right down to 1,006, and at the minute we're sort of hovering around 1,030 for the duration that we're here. So we are scratching, everybody's starting to feel the pressure, but I'm just going to sit on hands. That's what I'm going to do. You know, that spot out or towards that weed bed, the only thing that I have done on that rod this morning is I've popped out a couple of balls of ground bait, but that's mostly so I can get some liquids down on the spot, just so if anything does pass over, I've got something there, but I'm not piling out loads more bait over it. So yes, that's where we're up to. We're going to persevere. I shall keep you updated regardless of what happens, but fingers crossed Lady Luck brings me one of them big uns very soon, because we really need it at the moment. Good fish.
Finally, we're getting somewhere. After losing one this morning, this one's a massive relief. Once again going £43. Cracking fish, nice battle. Another rig adjustment, it's paid off. Happy days. Nice chunk, buzzing. That's a relief.
Well, good evening, and I know the lighting is not perfect, but believe it or not, it's actually darker than it looks on camera at the moment. I've had to leave it till this time to give you a bit of an update. I had a bit of a malfunction with the batteries, and this one's only got a little bit of charge in it, so I'm going to keep this short. Today has been bloody pants. That's my synopsis. I feel like I'm really struggling on this side. We knew it was only a matter of time before Liam was going to get another bite, but what you didn't see before you just seen that fish is he lost one earlier on today. And what we actually think was the rod that we put out last night, it wasn't quite sitting properly. I think it was sort of hindered in the weed a little bit. When we was losing the light and that, it was hard to sort of see where we was putting the rod back out. So anyway, as soon as he redid that rod, he got a bite almost instantly. It was like only a matter of minutes and it was away, and we thought, oh my God, we've missed the trick here. But as it turns out, it hadn't. We replaced that rod and it was a good 3 or 4 hours before it went again. But for me, on this side of the swim, it is looking very bleak. I'm starting to be a bit despondent now, I'll be totally honest. Not seeing anything showing that weed bed today, and I've actually moved one of the rods over, so I've got like one fishing right on the end of the weed bed and one sort of halfway. One is just beyond the kelp bed before the weed starts, and one is to the right of the kelp bed. I feel like that's my best opportunity of getting a bite out of this side of the swim. The other one's still sat right out in open water on a little spot that we found, but I just think they're just not visiting them deep spots at the moment. But time will tell, you know, it's tough going for us all. If anything, you know, I think Liam will be in for some more action again tomorrow. But it was nice to see Chris land one in 4 strong winds today. That turned out to be a 30 as well. Lovely fish that was. So yeah, I do hope there's some more action's going to kick off, because you know, it feels like camping at the moment. I feel like I'm a Gillian cameraman. But hey ho, we're here, we're on holiday, we're enjoying it regardless. I shall keep you posted, but it's goodbye for now. Well, we are long overdue an update as we speak, and we're actually gone past dinner time now, approaching 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And to be honest, up until now, not a lot has been happening for us to report on. Last night had a really strange feeling to it. The wind totally dropped off, there wasn't a breath of wind on the lake, and you could hear absolutely everything. And we didn't see anything showing on them key times, you know, and I kind of went to bed feeling a little bit deflated, you know, because I've got high hopes that the fish will still move back over that weed bed. However, this morning, once we got up, we did see a few fish showing this morning. In particular, out in front of Party Point, they were showing in short again, where we seen them last showing yesterday. But the main thing is the wind swung this morning. It went to like a southwesterly, and then it switched to a westerly, and at the moment it's starting to swing back round to how it was when we got here. So it did kind of change things, and it give a bit of a different atmosphere to it, a bit of a different feeling. We felt like something could happen today. Something has happened, but not for me, for Liam. But we'll get to that in a moment. So anyway, at the moment I've stuck it out on them 2 rods. I've not done anything on them 2 rods. We've just re-dropped my long rod, but that's because Liam was playing a fish in and it went over the line and that. It's become quite apparent that as soon as he hooks a fish, you know, just got to get them rods out of the way so it doesn't cause any havoc. What's happening is the fish are picking up the kelp, and because it's dangling on the line, it can't help but, you know, pick your other lines up. So at least we've got that sorted, and he's landing all the bites that he's getting now. So yes, we've got 2 fish in the net at the moment. One looks a 30 common and one looks a mid-20 mirror at the moment, and up until now, you know, we was just sort of sitting here thinking, where are the fish, what is happening? And then just out the blue, his left hand rod picked up, and we just about got it in the net, and then his right hand rod, it absolutely whizzed away. Proper good take it was. So yes, I'll hand you over to this footage now, because we're just about to deal with the fish.
Just over 30. Fourth one at session now. I'm clawing it back. And we've got fifth one down it net as well. Double take.
Well done, mate.
Cheers, well. Seven. Number 5. Happy days that. Hopefully it'll continue now. Now we've sussed it. Hopefully Paul can get into a few as well. Nice single back part, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, good evening, and as you can see, I'm lit up in the bivvy. Unfortunately, I've let the light slip away. It slips away rather fast this time of year. Before you know it, it's dark just like that. But not a lot to report on really. That flurry of bites that Liam had, you know, it just come out the blue, totally out the blue. Today, I mean, if anything, today it felt really good atmosphere this morning. We had blue skies and a bright sunshine first thing, and then a few fish started showing, and then the wind switched to a southwesterly. It really felt like it was going to spur something on, and it just didn't materialise. The wind switched round, the cloud cover come in, and it just changed to how it has been for the past 3 days. And not only that, there was no fish sort of showing over Liam, so he wasn't feeling very confident neither. And then just out the blue, 2 bites in quick succession. He landed 1 fish, was just putting that into the retainer, and the other rod went off. And as you're seeing, that lovely 30-pound common, a scraper 30, but a lovely fish, that nice clean fish. And then that 27 mirror, again another nice fish. So, you know, at least something's happened, but news around the lake, you know, it is still the same. 4 strong winds, Chris, he had 1 from that swim. Everybody else has not had a fish, with myself included, you know. I just feel like they're not visiting them deeper spots. I just can't quite put my finger on it. And you know, it's not too dissimilar to how me and Liam are fishing. It's just that we're fishing different zones, you know. He's got a nice shallow area as it comes over that bar, nice big kelp bed, and it just seems to be that, you know, there's fish present in that area quite a lot of the time. I mean, if anything, it seems to be sort of midday time when they turn up in that area. So yeah, he's capitalising on that, getting a couple of bites, but for the rest of us, you know, we're just sort of scratching our heads. The only other thing I can possibly do is put zigs on, but I just think it's too brutal out there. Part of me thinks, why put a zig on just to get a bite and lose it? I'd feel even worse than what I do now. But, you know, this is how this place is. This is the reality of Holme Fen. I think sometimes, you know, it can be misled and people might think it's slightly easier than what it is. I mean, certainly from my last video you might think that, but really the reality of it, it's not like that on here. You know, there's a lot of people that see blanks, you know, or even on a week session, there's a lot of people that see blanks on here. You know, these fish, they've been fished for a hell of a lot. They're not daft. And you notice that, even going back to the last video, you do notice that really little finicky takes. You never get like proper one-toners on it. It just never seems to happen. And when it does happen, it seems to be one of the smaller fish. But there's hope, there is hope. All it needs is one big one, and that's it. It just changes everything. And that's all I'm sitting here hoping for at the moment, that one of them rods will eventually rattle off and it'll be a big one. That's all I can do. I feel confident in the spots. I know my baiting works, you know. I've got huge confidence in the Scopex squid. This year has been, up until this point, it's just been absolutely phenomenal for myself. I mean, I'm even putting out the ground bait that I did on the last time, you know, with that liquid in there. And even that is not pulling anything down to the spot. But I think you do need a few fish to pass over in order for that to pull them down, do you know what I mean? And at the moment, I just feel like the fish was present the first night on that weed bed, and I cocked up there. I missed the trick. I was a bit reluctant to move a rod at night. I just didn't want to start smashing out over showing fish. Yeah, but I feel like I really missed the trick, and what we could do with is a repeat of that first night. We could really do with that. Yeah, it's just been a completely different lake since then. But that's what it is. That's the synopsis. I'm going to switch everything off now, pack the cameras away, get into bed early, I think, tonight, and just pray to the carp gods. That is all I can do. Hard going, but that's carp fishing, and I'm still happy to be sat here. I'm enjoying my time, and it's nice to see Liam land a few fish now, you know. I mean, he's had 11 bites and only landed 4 fish, so, you know, even he sat there, you know, questioning his own sanity. He said to me earlier, he said, you know what's really doing my head in, Paul? The fish that I lost felt like bigger fish, and I must admit, even if I was him, I'd be thinking and feeling exactly the same way. But, you know, for the rest of us looking round, it looks like he's in a rosy position, doesn't it? It does. But hey ho, that is it for this evening. I shall see you tomorrow morning.
Biggest one so far, 48 pound, number 7. Hopefully next one's an even bigger one.
Well, good afternoon, and I thought it's about time I turned the camera on and actually spoke. Not feeling very inspirational, if I'm totally honest. It just feels like I'm waiting for something that's not going to happen. And Liam's not content enough with catching all the fish that he's decided to catch the tufties as well now. He's laughing, by the way. I tell you what, today, even last night, you know, we were sat up till quite late again last night watching the water. Nothing showing, and then I got up at about 2 a.m. For about half an hour or so, had a cup of tea and that, looked out across the water, still nothing to inspire me, so went back to bed. And then this morning Gary come round, he was fishing on the party point, and he says to me he was up from 3 o'clock this morning through till about 6 a.m. and he said he seen fish showing in short in front of me, which completely mashed my head in when he said that. Honestly, that's like, I feel like nothing's gonna happen. I feel like I'm gonna blank, to be totally honest. But, you know, put all that aside, you know, Liam did get a bite quite early on this morning. That first fish that he had was a 28 mirror. It took us by surprise really, because we've only seen 2 fish show today. And then not only that, it wasn't that long after that bite really, it was only about an hour and a half or so, and then he had another bite. Again, it seems to be a repeat of what's been happening, you know, a flurry of bites close together for him on that spot over there. But pleased to say that one was a banger. 48 pound, best one so far. I think there's time for a big one before he goes. For me, I just want a fish, just a fish will do. Hopefully it's a big one, but not feeling very inspirational. I could possibly move. I was half considering moving into wasted time today, but I could have just been wasting my time, couldn't I? I don't know. I don't know what to do. There is a possible move on the cards tomorrow. There's 2 people going. The dugout is becoming free, but I know Gary, who's in Party Point, wants to move into there. So whether I'll move or not, I don't know. But that's about all I can say really. I've not really done much today. I had to move one of the rods because I had to bring it in just to make sure he landed the fish all right. But other than that, you know, it's just sort of sitting on what I'm doing. With Gary saying that about the fish showing short, I have found a spot that's closer in. I actually put the drone up to find the spot, to be quite honest. It was glowing like a Christmas tree, and just dropped it on that. Needs must, that's all I can say. Use every little bit of technology I can to try and catch a fish. But it's not just like that for myself. Other than what Liam's had, nobody else has had a fish. So it's hard going for us all. But the thing that makes it even harder to swallow is just the fish. They're not showing. I mean, the temperature we've got today, it's bang on really. It's been consistent for the last few days, no dramatic ups and downs. We've had a nice wind blowing across the lake. It's been overcast all day. I think the only thing negative to say is it's a high pressure. We could have done with a low pressure. I mean, next week I think it'll fish its head off. We're looking at the conditions of what's coming in. But today it's just felt like it's just tried to rain all day but hasn't. So yeah, that is it. That is my synopsis. Keep soldiering on. I feel like hanging myself. Every time Liam's rod goes, I feel like just like... But you know, that's how it is. So yes, I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully the next time I turn the camera on might be with me holding a fish, but I think it'll be Liam holding the fish. We shall see. Well, good morning, and would you look at this glorious sunshine, and I feel like a new man this morning. I've upped sticks and I've moved. I've actually got myself situated in a dugout swim. I did have the choice of Party Point or the dugout, to be totally honest, because one guy's moved this morning, one guy's packed up, and the other fella that was coming down to drop into this swim is not coming. So it'd be rude not to try my luck in this swim. If anything, just a new lease of life, man. I already feel better just for moving, and I haven't even put a lead out there yet. I do believe Liam's going to still carry on catching off of that spot, but I am familiar with a couple of spots in this swim. However, it does look like things have changed out there. The first thing I've noticed is the island is a lot more exposed, so the water level's a lot down from when I last fished here. But hey ho, I'm eager to get going. All I need is just one bite, and I'll be happy. I'll go away a happy man. Just one bite, that's all I need. There is news of another fish as well. Mark, who's in the pump hole, he had a 49 mirror last night. It was sort of like going into the afternoon. £49, it was only a few ounces under £50. It looked an absolutely tip-top fish, it did. Absolute brute. It looked a lot bigger on the picture, let's put it that way. Here's a picture of that now. So well done to Mark, and it's nice to see somebody else has caught. That's 3 people that's caught now. Hopefully I can make it a 4th. Fingers crossed. Well, we're just coming up to 1 o'clock in the afternoon and everything is all sorted now. I feel quite positive, to be honest. And as I suspected, that spot over there by the island is no longer a spot. I wrapped it up at 24.5 wraps where I fished last time I was in here. And it dropped about a foot short of where the water line ended near the island. Not good at all. I've actually had to come back to 22.5 wraps. It's sort of about 6 foot off of the island, but it's really choddy over there. And when I say choddy, I mean there's a lot of Canadian weed on the bottom there. It's not tall, it's quite low lying, but I've had to, have quite a few casts along the side of that island just to be able to find the best spot to present on. And I found a spot that I'm happy with, fishing a hinge stiff rig over the top of that, so I know that I'm presented. And then to make life easier for myself, I've actually dropped that one with a boat. I can keep the bait nice and tight. But whilst I was doing that, I seen 2 fish show short out to the left of me here. It's actually out towards the bay in Wasted Time. I didn't know this at the time, but there's actually a kelp bed out there. I sort of made a cast to sort of around the centre, and I'm thinking, why is it not dropping through? And then sure enough, when I went to reel it back, reeled in some kelp, and eventually after a few casts I've managed to find an area which I'm happy with. It actually feels like silt, if I'm totally honest, but it's right at the side of where that kelp is. It is deep water, so I've got shallow water out on the island. I've probably got about 5 foot of depth over there. Haven't used the fish finder. I've actually, done it old school way, gone out there with a leaden rod, done it like that, and then dropped it over there. This one over here, and then I've just probably put about 8 spoms over it. Not a lot of big bait, to be honest. I've actually ground the boilies down this time, a little bit of particle, ground boilie, and that's it really. Yellow hook baits over the top. I'm fishing the pineapple crush, the same as I have been over there. And then the right hand rod, I actually found that spot with the drone. I put the drone in the air, found a likely looking area, drove the boat out over the top, and then just dropped it whilst the drone was in the air. I know that's cheating, but needs must. It's helped me get sorted, and I use every bit of technology I can to try and catch a fish. Last ditch attempt, but if anything, I do feel quite positive. It looks a really good clear spot, that. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb with the drone in the air. I do think if it wasn't sunny, we wouldn't see that spot though. I think if it was overcast and a bit more of a wind on, I definitely wouldn't see that. It is deep water out there, but it is fishing towards the kelp out there where Liam has been sort of fishing past, if you like. He's been fishing past the kelp on a shallow spot as it actually comes over where the dot island is. It's like the runoff from that island. You can see where it comes over, and he's been fishing a spot on the side of that, and that's been his most productive spot. So I haven't encroached his water, if you know what I mean. I'm well within my boundary, but if anything, I'd have liked it to have been shallower where I'm fishing, but hey ho, I'm presented. They're out there, and I've seen a couple of fish show to the left. Not since I've made the commotion. It was before I made the commotion, and then I have seen one show out in the open water, sort of between where me and Liam are actually fishing. So all is good. All is good. Hopefully we can just get one bite. If I get one bite, I'll be happy. Really happy, I will. And to rub salt into the wound, after I've left, Liam has actually found a clear spot, 110 yards, just by casting, found a clear spot. And he whacked a single out on it, and it went. I just can't believe it. It'd only been out there half an hour, whacked a single out on it, and it went. A lovely fish that was, just short of £50, £49 an ounces. But I'm sure he's going to catch something else off that main spot. It's sort of coming into that time where he's due a bite anyway. It sort of seemed to pick up from like 1 o'clock in the afternoon till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That tended to be the sort of period where he was getting his bites. For me over here, when I was last here back in July, it was approaching the afternoon. It was sort of like from 5 o'clock through till about 10 o'clock. So that's what time it got dark then. So I don't know what, if anything is going to happen for me in the afternoon or what. I really don't know. but collectively as a group, you know, we haven't had a bite at night time. Even Liam's rod just went completely dead at night time, and it seems to be all sort of daytime action. I mean, Mark's fish as well, that was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I reckon. The fish that Chris had over in 4 Strong Winds, that was approaching dinner time. I think it was around about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. But I feel better, I do, I really feel a lot better. It's hard, you know, when you're next to somebody who's having a good session and you're pretty much fishing the same. I mean, he's been fishing pink hook baits, I've been fishing yellow hook baits. There's a big difference there, but I've also tried the 12mm citrus as well, and you know, I just couldn't buy a bite. It just wasn't happening out in that main depth, that main bit of water anyway. And I tried long, I tried short, without piling too much bait here, there and everywhere. I just think the fish are really moody at the moment, I really do. But I've got 2 nights left. I've basically got all today and all tomorrow, and then an early pack up Sunday morning. So it's all to play for. For now, I'm going to get some food on. I'm absolutely starving. It's hard work when you're moving. You may have noticed as well, I haven't actually set up in the peg. The bivvy, I've set it up at the top there just to make it easier for when I pack up, really, more than anything else. Being a lazy sod that I am. I tell you something though, the hide is bloody easy to pack up and pack down. In fact, I didn't even fully pack it up. I just dropped it down, folded it up, whacked it in the car, come round here, chucked it straight up, bed chair in, job's a good un. I thought it was going to be a lot easier to find my spots, but yeah, it sort of took me around about an hour and a half or so to get the spots sorted, but I'm happy now. So yeah, waffling on again, aren't I? I think this is just going to be loads of bloody talking, but I have tried to keep it as minimal as possible, you know. It's hard work. I mean, if anything, it's been hard for me actually getting the inspiration to bloody talk to the camera. Most of the time I've just been sat there bloody beating myself up, to be fair. Yeah, it really does mash your head in this place. It is one of them waters. So yes, get some grub on, hopefully we'll catch a fish.
Choose to think positively, no matter what's going on around me. I have a great life, and will continue to have a great life. Every breath I inhale, I become.
It's gone solid. Keeps going solid in the kelp. Yeah.
Back in there again.
It's gone solid.
Ain't that quick, was it?
I know. But you've got it right, haven't you? Cheers, Chris. Well, good morning, and I don't even know where to begin, to be quite honest. Going into yesterday afternoon, I had a little bit of a discovery. Chris, who's fishing in the point swim next to me, he's got a camera on his boat, and he told me just about how much bait he's been seeing out on the lake bed. Loads and loads of boilies just sat there not doing anything. So I went back to the bivvy yesterday afternoon, had a little think about things, and I tied a rig up, which I'm thinking to myself, it's just wrong. Fish of this size, it's just completely wrong. But the reason for doing that is so I could fish a 10mm pop-up, a 10mm pink pop-up, and that is what I have done. Put the rods out, well, put that rod out, should I say, just sort of coming into, as the twilight was coming in last night, I did notice a few more fish start to show out in the left of this bay, but then darkness set in really quick, and I didn't do an update just because, you know, could have gone either way really. And then I've got up at first light this morning, been and sat down in front of the peg, noticed a little bit of fizz coming off the spot. Half an hour later, rod was away. Got a 51 mirror in the retainer as we speak. I thought, right, honestly, playing that fishing, it was a nightmare. The kelp weeded me up 4 times solid, and I'm thinking small hook, you know, I'll go through the rig in a lot more detail, but I'm thinking small hook. I was absolutely trembling. I've never been so scared playing a fish in my life. But anyway, went in the net, it's in the retainer, weighed it, thought, right, get the rod sorted, back out there, might be a short window. I've done that, half an hour later, rod's gone. Just about to do the pictures. The only reason why I didn't do the pictures is because I've had Mike here from Fenlands, basically, who runs part of the booking with Martin. He's been down, you know, to get the update basically. So I sort of hold back on doing the pictures for that, and he was just about to leave and the rod went. So I've got 2 in the retainers now. I've got a 36.8 and a 51.2, and I'm sure if I'd have made this change a lot sooner, things might have started to happen a bit quicker. But upon discovering that, you know, well, the rest is history. Needless to say, once I get them rods sorted out, they're all changing, and then we shall have a bit of an update with a bit of a rig talk to what I've done and what I'm actually putting out there. I've took all the boilies out the mix. I'm actually grinding the boilies up, putting loads of crumb and chops out there, you know, no big pieces at all, and fishing a 10mm over the top. That's what's worked. So yes, without further ado, let's get these fish out, and I shall see you on the mat. Well, I do apologise for the light background, but as you can imagine, it's a bit tricky doing it in the water. I could have done this one on the bank, but I wanted to get set up ready for the big one, the grand finale. But this is an absolute lovely fish, this is. Real hairy fight, as you've probably seen from the footage you've just looked at. Lively. So there you go, look, 36.5 pounds. Pristine mirror. Am I a happy boy now, or what? Certainly am. I'll show you the other side quickly, and then we'll go get the other one. Oh, it's more scalier on that side. And there you go, there's the other side, just check him out. Beautiful fish. Yes. Well, here we go. Here's the one that we've been waiting for. The one which I first set out to come and get from here, a 50-pounder. And finally, I can say I'm in the 50s club. I know last time we went slightly better and went into the 70s club, but this means a lot to me, this fish. So, and he's a bit of a character, nice proportioned fish. It's a bit of a dinosaur, isn't he, really? He's going nuts. Oh, he's going ballistic. But look at that. 51 pound too. One happy boy. Jesus. Try and get the other side. And there we go, look. Lovely proportion. Oh, I'm made up. But I can't wait to get that rod back out. So, without further ado, that's what we're gonna do. Well, good afternoon, and what a turn up for the books that was, let me tell you. As an old man once said to me, a wise man once said to me, you can't keep a good man down, and that is how I feel at the moment. I have gone from feeling all doom and gloom to absolutely on top of the world. I really have. What a difference. I'm sure location is a bit to do with it, but mostly I reckon it's down to the rig tweak, which we'll get onto in a moment. But for now, let me bring you up to speed to what's actually been happening around the lake. A few things have changed today. Mark, who was over in the pump hole, he picked up another fish this morning. He had a small common. I don't actually know the weight of it, but looking at the photo, it looked sort of a double common. He's now left. And Dan, that was fishing in the island swim, has moved over into the pump hole for the last night. Liam over in the beaches, since I left that swim yesterday, left it to his devices. He managed to nick that 49 on a single, but since then he hasn't had a touch. He reckons his spot's blown. I think that could be partly down to line pressure. These fish definitely react to the line pressure. I mean, they're not daft, you know, that's why it's as hard as it is. And I do think that could have a lot to do with it. But we never know, we're sort of guessing, aren't we? But in any case, you know, he hasn't had another bite off of that spot, which I'm really surprised, because every day it's done him a couple of bites. It didn't do him any bites yesterday, and so far today it's not done him any more bites. And other than that, that is all to report really. Obviously I've had them couple of fish, and for the rest of the group nothing else has happened. But you know, there's high hopes, there really is. One thing that I am really surprised about, given the time of year and the weather conditions that we've had, I'm surprised we haven't had any night bites. It'd be really great to see somebody have a bite at night, because it's just so odd. But then again, you know, these fish are really acting funny at the moment. I am not gonna lie, I totally lost my head. If I hadn't moved round here and given myself that new lease of life, and I'd have sat out over there, I really think I'd have blanked. I was going absolutely berserk, to be honest. It was hard sitting next to Liam when he's having a really good session, and me fishing very similar to how he is. I'm not even a touch. But anyway, getting on to the rig tweak, you know. Chris, who's next door to me in the point, you know, he's got a winch camera on his boat, and he just highlighted the fact to me that the amount of bait that he's been seeing out there on the bottom, and in particular large boilies. Now with him saying that, you know, it really got me thinking. I'm thinking maybe I should just, you know, drop the boilies out the mix, change what I'm doing. I was very, very stubborn, you know. After being here in July and having the session that I did, I knew that the rigs worked, I knew that the bait worked, and in particular the pop-ups that I was using, you know, 15mm pineapple crush pop-ups. But I just think they've been battered a bit too much, you know, and it's become a bit too blatant, and they're picking up the small bits and pieces, or at least that's what I was thinking anyway. And when I made this rig up, I looked at it and I thought, Paul, you've lost your marbles. You really have lost your marbles. But what I actually did is I actually constructed a multi-rig. I used the Armour Link for material, and I went down to a size 10 floater claw hook. That sounds absolutely madness, I know it does. But I used a little bit of shrink tube to go over the eye of the hook and that, not to make it aggressive, but in particular to trap the double sectioned over, so I could put a little rig ring on there, and then just a BB shot, you know, and I can set it really low, and then just switch to a little citrus pop up, and that is what's done me the bites. And I tell you something, I was petrified with that first fish. I really was petrified. Even the rod, you could see it shaking. One, because it was such a small hook, and the other because it got stuck a few times. The kelp in here at the moment is horrendous. Might come down today, and he was saying to me it's the worst it's ever been, the kelp at the moment, and he's actually thinking about treating it next year. So yeah, it must be bad at the moment, let's put it that way. But then, you know, that little hook, once I'd landed the fish, and just honestly I struggled to unhook it. It was absolutely nailed. It was buried in there. It was about 1 inch back, and it was absolutely buried in. There was no way that was coming off. The only way I'd have lost that fish is if the hook bent out. And I do think with small hooks, you know, if you hook them in the right place, they're not going to bend out. They're really not. But anyway, that put all that to bed. And then the second bite, you know, I was a little bit lucky with that one, and the fight was a little bit more hairy. It got proper stuck at one point. I mean, I'm sure the footage for that, you know, shows my frustration. I had to just like let it go slack, and in the end I found that just keeping the tension on so I could feel the fish kicking every now and then, it did sort of work its way free. I mean, if anything, you know, the kelp does pull away, but if you've got a big bunch of kelp on there, that's when it becomes harder. Fishing braid on here would be so much more easier, but you know, you're not allowed to use braid. So yeah, I did kind of feel like there was another opportunity this afternoon. I sat and got the rigs made, got the rods back out. I moved one of the rods to a little clear spot which is down the side of the kelp further to the left, kept one on the spot that I've had the bites on. I did have a liner on that not long after putting it back out, and I was kind of thinking to myself, have I been done or not? But I don't think I've been done. I think it was an actual liner. But there definitely was fish present here this afternoon, and you know, kind of hopeful for another bite, to be honest, but it just hasn't materialised. Certainly that morning period was the one, and we're off tomorrow, so I'm going to keep the rods into the death, because that first bite was around about 9 o'clock, so you just never know. But I'm not very hopeful for tonight, not given what we've seen and that. And today as well, no fish have showed out in that main zone. I've seen 2 fish show today in this bay, and one of them was a really small common, and the other I didn't really get a glimpse of it. It was just a subtle show. So yes, that is where we're up to. Certainly the boat has been a big edge on this session, it really has. Just finding them clear spots and then dropping enough bait to get a bite, that's certainly what's done it. I mean, Steve at Future Carping, he gave me the V80 to use for this session, And I thought to myself, it's a bit of a big boat that, but I tell you something, it don't half shift some water. It's very easy to use as well. It's actually faster than Liam's RT4. It's just phenomenal. A right piece of kit. And I haven't charged the batteries neither. And when we was over there, Liam's batteries was running out, so he was using my boat as well. And it's still going strong. So yeah, that's been a big edge this session. And I suppose the other edge is just keeping your eyes peeled, you know, react to what you see. Well, certainly once I arrived in this swim, I thought it was going to be that main island spot again, but no. If I didn't have noticed them fish, I probably wouldn't have caught them, let's put it that way. But other frustrations, you know, one thing you've always got to consider when you come here is the bloody bird life. They have been relentless. The coots, the tufties, they've completely done my head in. Investing in one of these tufty torches is a mega bit of kit, you know. Proper good these are. This is Chris's from next door. He sort of lent me it to scare him off that island. But no sooner as I dropped that rod, they were on it. They picked me up straight away. You've just got to fish a rig that resets itself, and make sure you know your bait's on there. It's not going to get pulled off. Yeah, and the other thing is the swans. The swans are absolutely divvy in here. I just cannot. There's no good way of putting it. They just absolutely come into the swim, and if you've got your rods, you know, up in the air, they will just plough through them. Without doubt, you need eyes in the back of your head. You feel like, especially with me bivvied up there, that's why I've got my tips under the water. But I can get away with that because I'm not going over any bars, you know, and I'm fishing fairly close in on 2 rods. So yeah, a lot of frustrations, but kind of feel like if Chris hadn't have told me about that bait on the bottom, I don't even think I'd have caught them fish. I really don't. So yeah, little rig tweak. Drop down in bait. I mean, Liam's been catching his fish on 12mm pinks, and you know, I did try that over there, but I think just scaling it back that little bit more, and then going over to the multi-rig, so you know, it's only popped up a very tiny little bit. Well, it's worked anyway. It's definitely worked. Hopefully it'll work again before we go. But relax, you know, I feel like it's been a really tough session. Honestly, if like I can describe how I was feeling at one point, yeah, it kind of illustrates just how hard it has been, and just what it is like on this place, you know. Last session here, that was a total different session to this session, but pleased as punch, you know. Kept the foot on the gas, glad I moved, and it's come good in the end. Biggest fish of the trip so far. Hopefully it's not over yet. So yes, I'm going to leave it there for now, and we shall have a catch up very shortly. I can't believe I've just got that back through all that kelp. That's unreal. Oh, don't go back in that kelp, please. It is, isn't it? How wrong was I? Boom! Yes, brother. Yeah, man. What you saying? Is it? Oh. And there we go, look, not long after I spoke to you, the rod rattled off, and it's the new spot, the left-hand rod, that was right past that kelp bed towards the far corner. Same rig, same presentation, and another big fish. 52 pound and 4 ounce. I am absolutely made up. A brace of 50s in a day and a 36. Well, talk about turning a session round. Phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, we're losing the light, so I'm going to get some snaps so I can get this fish back. Well, good morning, and it is still rather early. It's just got light as we speak, and I've not long replaced that left-hand rod. Bit of a story to tell this morning. Kicking it back to yesterday after I spoken to you. I think it was the fish when I last spoke to you. I got the rod back out, and then an hour into darkness, the other rod went, the one that's on the right. That went, cut a long story short, 5 minutes later the hook just popped out. Couldn't believe it. You know, first time it's happened, and especially after how well them fish have been nailed, it surprised me, that did. But anyway, you know, got that rod back out with the help of Chris next door. He's got a camera on his boat with a light on it, so I was able to see the spot to drop it. And then about half an hour ago, just as light was breaking, the left-hand rod picked up and it was away, and I'm pleased to say I got that one in the net. It's in the retainer at the moment. I've had to wait till now to get that rod back out because it's a really dull day, and it's right down to the left. I can't actually see the boat where I'm dropping it, so I need daylight to be able to do that, because I can't do it just by judging with the lights on the boat. But anyway, that rod is back out on the money, and I have also seen a fish show in that bay, and it is approaching that time where I had a bite yesterday morning, so who knows. But the fish I've got in the retainer is a 54 pound 3 ounce. Can you believe how much this session has turned around? I can't believe it. An absolute, well, it's just blown my mind. Absolutely blown my mind. This lake is just phenomenal. It really is. It can break you, but it can also make you. Anybody wanting to book on here and experience a session, I highly recommend it. It's just, well, I love it. Let's put it that way. I absolutely love it. A lot of people don't. A lot of people say the fish are wrong and fish and things like that. But for me, these fish are just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's not like the great, horrible, ugly things neither. They're actually nice looking fish. Oh, and that one in the retainer is another nice fish as well. Anyway, I am going to stop waffling. Honestly, I was up before light this morning. I was up before the bite, to tell you the truth. Got the bivvy packed down. Most of the stuff is in the car, ready. I just wanted to have everything to hand ready to re-drop that rod, sort this fish out, and then you never know, we might just sneak another bite. But I think that might be pushing my luck a bit too much. But for now, we'll probably end up ending on that fish. But for now, I'm going to flick this camera off because it's starting to rain. I've got no bivvy up or anything now, so I need to start hiding everything away in the car. I shall see you very shortly. 54 pound 3 ounce. If we don't get another one this morning, what a great leaving present. If I don't get anything else, I'm going to leave it here and say goodbye and thank you, Holme Fen. I shall see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. if you want to see more of this.